Hello there everybody, Adam, third of his name here, and I just want to start by saying that I told you so. Didn't I? I told you for years and years and years that she was the baddest bitch on the entire show, and one day she would rain down actual hellfire upon innocent women and children, and, well, boy does it feel weird and horrible to be right. Yes, that's right, The Bells, the penultimate ever episode in Game of Thrones, arrived last night, kicked down the front door, grabbed you around the throat, licked your face, then bent you over and smashed you. And of course, already the internet is divided right down the middle between people who felt nasty and dirty and cheap and used by all of that, and others who secretly really like getting chucked around in that manner, emotionally speaking. Thankfully though, I am here now to do the thing and also do the thing, and we'll get to the bottom of it all. Right, here we go then. These are all the ups and downs for Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5, The Bells. Starting at Dragonstone this week with Varys, he of Little Birds and For the Realm fame. He has finally gone all in for Jon's claim to the Iron Throne, and he's writing lots of little notes trying to tell the world about that. Cast your minds back to last week and you will recall saying to Tyrion that he must do whatever he feels he must do, and it turns out that what he must do is grass him up to Dany, who then promptly has him taken out onto a cliff and burned alive. But the really clever thing here is from Season 7, where Dany looks Varys in the face and says, "If you ever betray me, I will burn you alive with dragonfire." And lo and behold, that is exactly what she's doing. One of the many, many, many subtle and clever payoffs in this episode, and your first up. Thing is, right, for all this episode feels like it's about everything that happens at King's Landing, the two major scenes at Dragonstone are probably even more important. In fact, when we unpack the season as a whole, when it's all said and done, the opening of this episode might be one of the most important sequences ever. Think about it. Dany has lost Jorah. Dany has lost Missandei. Dany has lost two of her children. Tyrion is failing her and she no longer trusts him. Varys out and out betrays her, and then she turns to Jon as like the last emotional refuge, her last human connection to this world, and he rejects her. Jon, God bless him, he just can't do it. He's sworn himself to her. He does care for her, but he can't love her anymore because he knows it's wrong. He can't love her the way she loves him, the way she needs him to love her, because as she says, there is no love for her in Westeros. She just glazes over, doesn't she? You can see it finally snap in her, and she just goes, all right then, it's gonna have to be fear then. Like, seriously, if you're not buying Dany's arc in this episode, think of this as the moment she loses touch with the human side of this world, where she loses that last connection, the thing tying her to people. Like, go watch it back and think about that, and it just works brilliantly up. You see, I told you, didn't I? Told you getting these two back on the road would be absolutely brilliant, but they would also never give us anywhere near as much of it as we actually wanted. I'm not gonna give us a point either way, it's just an observation, but one of the many, many reasons we should have got 10 episodes, isn't it, instead of 7. Mind you, one pairing that did get the screen time together that they actually deserved was Jaime and Tyrion, and oh god, my idiot heart. Nikolai Coster-Waldau and Peter Dinklage absolutely knock it out of the fact. They don't even knock it out of the park here. They knock it out of the park, then they both run outside, catch the ball themselves and go, look how good we are at acting. It's these two characters who have been so beautifully and richly written over the last 8 seasons, seeing each other for what they are, the monster, the imp, and the man who loves his sister for reasons he can't ever escape, and finally admitting to each other that they could never have been who they are without the other one. It's one of those conversations in dark room scenes that Game of Thrones has always been so good for, and this is a very, very quiet highlight in what ends up being a very, very loud episode. A huge up. Right then, King's Landing, which I'm not really fully sure I've actually completely managed to process yet, but we'll muddle on regardless. And I just want to say here, the tension. Remember that bit of the Battle of Winterfell where they're just walking around for like a minute or so? Like, ooh, that's good tension. This, from the 25-minute mark, there is a 6-minute sequence of the entire city just sort of bracing itself, just sort of clenching, and the music, the tension of it all is so brilliantly done. I don't think my arsehole has fully unclenched yet. That gets an up all of its own. Tell you what doesn't get an up though, and that is the Golden Company, the greatest sellswords the world has ever known, we were told by Cersei and by Davos and by Stannis and by all the wider lore, and then just obliterated in about 10 seconds. That's it. As much use as a marzipan dildo. I mean, this is a subversion, sure, but that's all it is. It's subversive for the sake of being subversive. Like, they got mentioned a couple of times, turned up in King's Landing, said their hellos, then did absolutely nothing for 2 episodes, got wiped out, and we didn't even see a single goddamn elephant, so down. And from there, we get the Battle of King's Landing, and I will get to how good all the cinematography is and all that later on. Put a pin in the battle for now. The next major moment we get is the bells. It's already one of the most divisive moments in the history of Game of Thrones. I have seen people going purple in the face arguing about this already today, and well, we're gonna talk about it now. Daenerys Targaryen, Stormborn, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains, Haver of Nicknames, finally breaks. Cards completely on the table. I think this is the right decision. Game of Thrones has always been a show about those who crave power, those who seek power, not being worthy of it, and fundamentally being exposed as flawed characters in the process. With the Night King dead, that's not the angle we're going to go down. It always had to be Daenerys who ended up being the big bad. That is the only satisfying way to end this story. Now, a lot of people are saying this has come out of nowhere, that she was fine for 7 seasons, then they've just rushed through this whole Mad Queen thing for the sake of doing it. But honestly, trust me, the groundwork for this part of the story has been getting laid since season 1, and it has been getting laid very well. Could it have been done better? Yes. Should they have started doing it earlier on? Yes. Did it need more room to breathe? Yes, but it is still, for me, the right call and gets an up. She spent her entire life longing to return home and then discovered she doesn't even belong there. She never let anybody get close to her, but has still somehow managed to see her best friends and her children killed in front of her eyes. She believes so firmly that it is her destiny to rule in Westeros, and then, lo and behold, out of nowhere, the man she loves has a better claim. Dany's story is one of pure tragedy. She is consumed by loss, by isolation, by betrayal. She's corrupted by power and by destiny. She is haunted by her father, the Mad King, and it is just the perfect way to round up a song of ice and fire. I don't get why people don't want this. I mean, if nothing else, it is a great example of long-form storytelling and how much you can invest in things related to that. And if you want an example of the exact opposite, things just happening because they need to happen, well, good news, everybody, because Euron Greyjoy's here. It's not just that they've been unfaithful to one of the best characters in the books, it's just that he's got virtually no character at all. Like, what is he? Horny pirate Bam Margera who jitters around the Seven Kingdoms like he's the only man who's ever done cocaine? Like, seriously, has he ever turned up in a scene and you've had any reaction besides, ugh, this guy again? This fight is stupid and he is stupid, and I really hate the fact that they've somehow made this dork a more integral part of the final season than the actual Night King. Down. But cheer up, everybody, because after this stupid fight that nobody wanted, we actually got Clegane Bowl, which was A, not stupid, B, everybody wanted it, and C, did I mention that it really wasn't stupid. I'm just gonna subvert this one ever so slightly for you. I'm going to give this an up. That's a spoiler for about a minute's time, but I'm not doing it for the sake of doing it. I'm not doing it because they paid off this fan service. This actually worked on a more clever level that it might not have done otherwise. The reason this is good is not merely because it's Clegane Bowl, because Clegane Bowl in of itself could have been a complete waste of time and cheap fan service. The reason this is so good and it works in the moment is because of what happens between the Hound and Arya right before. Him telling her that you can't be consumed by vengeance, you do not want to turn into me, adds this great level of poignancy to what is a brutal fight. It just makes it mean so much more. And when she calls him Sandor, it's just, yeah, this is fitting. This is what we wanted. I mean, it does also help. This is one of the most vicious, brutal, and hard to watch fights we've ever seen in the show. It's got elements of Brienne versus the Hound, elements of the Mountain versus the Viper. It's got all the greatest hits in there, and it's just bits where you don't really want to watch, but you can't take your eyes off it. And it ends the way it had to, the way these two began their story, in the goddamn fire room. We just see him without his mask and his armor, and it's just, Rory McCann, let's get that pint in. Alright, so I don't really know where to start with this one, because I said last week the whole Jaime leaving Brienne thing was on a knife edge. Like, if they subvert that, it's really interesting storytelling, but if he just goes back to Cersei, that's a betrayal of his redemption story. It's a complete waste of his arc. So I said that would be bad, but that is exactly what they did, and it worked, so I guess I was wrong. This relentless path of redemption he has been on made all of us sitting at home want him to have a happy ending. We wanted nice things to happen to him, but I think what they've done here is they're trying to show us that that's not how he sees it. Like, we've seen the journey he's been on, we've seen how much he's changed, but he doesn't. He doesn't want a happy ending for himself because he doesn't believe he deserves it. He is hateful, as he told Brienne. All that matters to him is this weird love he has for his sister. Like, he even tells his last words to her are, nothing else matters. And that's it. Nothing else does matter to him. And it kind of works. I think maybe most of us have been guilty, and hands up here, that we're seeing some of the show's biggest characters either in black or white, good or bad. How's the ending going to go for them? But the show is so many different shades of grey. It was never ever going to work like that. And it is fitting. They go out of this world together the same way they came in, like by each other's side. And yeah, hats off. It actually worked. If you told me last week they were going to do this, I would have rolled my eyes in my head so hard I would have warged. There you go. I'd have rolled my eyes so hard I would have warged. Needs work. But pull up a chair, because I have many feelings on this issue. While that's okay, if that's going to be Cersei's endpoint, that's fine. I don't mind that. What they've actually done with her this season does need addressed. Alright, so despite all of the theories, the Valancourt prophecy was never really a major part of her story. Like, don't want to be really clever about it. Jaime's hand is sort of on her throat as she dies, so I guess you could, but by the by, they have done my girl dirty here. Oh God, have they done my girl dirty. I fully understand that by design, this episode and this season needed to devote the majority of the time to Dany so that her destruction of King's Landing made sense and had all the necessary weight for it, but to do that, they have effectively just chucked Cersei in a bin. Her final ever episode on Game of Thrones, her final appearance in the series, is just her staring out of a window, getting progressively more distraught, and then dying. No. No, 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 no. Down. Yes, Lena Headey makes the most of what little screen time she gets, and yes, it is another masterclass in doing so much with so little, but for her last appearance in the show, one of its best ever characters, one of its best written, one of its most complex, one of the best things on TV for nearly a decade. It's not enough. Her entire contribution to season 8 was little bits in the first two, then missing from the next two, and then this. She's been in 2, out of 2, and that's just, no, I hate it. I know there was always going to be victims of a shorter season. We were always going to see good stories thrown by the wayside or just gobbled up into other ones to get us to the finish line. But look, while her endpoint was fine, that was good, the 7 seasons before were absolutely excellent, this gap here called Cersei in season 8 will annoy me for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. And then that's it. It's all over. We stop briefly to see Jon and Tyrion both realise that the woman they've sworn themselves to has just committed an atrocity up there with the worst things we've ever seen in the show, which is going to be quite awkward next season. And we also realise that vision Dany had of the Iron Throne covered in snow was in actual fact ash, because she burned everyone alive. And the thing is, throughout all of that chaos, it is so superbly, so brilliantly shot. Thrones has always been anti-war. It's always been about showing it for the hell that it is. And if this is the last big battle sequences we get in the show, it could not have gone out in a more fitting way. From the scale of the army battles down to the street level, the suffering, everything, it shows it for what it is, and it's just, wow. The story points will be divisive, sure, but we cannot argue this is a visceral, gut-punching, astonishingly shot, brilliantly produced work of cinematography, and IMHO, one of the greatest things that will ever grace a television screen. Regardless of what you think about the story, just put that on one side, it looks and feels unlike anything I've ever seen before. One final up for the sheer brilliance and horror of it all. Given all the build and the anticipation and how many stories this is supposed to pay off, that's probably going to go down as the most divisive episode of Game of Thrones ever. Isn't it? Ever. So yeah, let me know which side of the fence you're on in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. I've been Adam Clery, and I'll see you soon, I think. Maybe. Bye.